Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Cautionary Tales, the podcast where bands share their adventures and travails in the music business with you, me, and anybody else nearby. This week, world-class guitarist John Five stopped in to discuss the twists and turns of his career, from a decidedly insane 5-year tenure with Marilyn Manson before ending up as Rob Zombie's stellar axeman of choice for the last 13 years. Now, usually this is the part in the podcast where I give you some sort of, foreshadowing narrative about how John was put through the industry meat grinder and was forced to compromise his art, his playing, his mom's birthday, etc., etc., etc. The truth is, this week, I've got nothing. But John has something that a lot of people don't have: instinct. Because in 2005, prior to accompanying Rob Zombie on that summer's Ozzfest tour, he walked away from a significant major label deal, one that would have had him calling the shots on everything, funded by a fat checkbook, and then being endorsed and mentored and advocated by high-powered executives. Then, just before the machine could be turned on by the powers that be, he walked. Fortunately, that 6 weeks with Zombie turned into 13 years, and he's still having a blast. So while John Five's career is far from being a 5-acre garden of bitterness, he looked deep inside and took inventory of his heart. And the old adage, quote, "be careful what you wish for," is still a cautionary tale. And look, if you don't care about any of this, I did ask him about his first night ever on tour with Manson. So where are you from originally?
I was born in Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and
it's Grosse Pointe kind of posh, isn't it?
Very posh.
Okay.
Very posh. We had a very, very nice, high school. It looked like, Harvard or something. It's gorgeous. And, the kids, they smoke and they drink. And this is what was funny. Everybody would wear, suit coats, and it wasn't, you weren't supposed to wear uniforms, but they would dress like this, and everyone had bow ties. And but instead of smoking cigarettes or pot or something like that, everybody smoked a pipe. Not a marijuana pipe, but a pipe, like a tobacco pipe. And the kids just, talked, and they all had their pipes and things like that. So it was very, very posh. But, I just played guitar. And
you didn't smoke a pipe, you played guitar.
Yeah, and it was great. I wasn't like, that kid that just didn't have any friends, but, I was nice to everybody, and everybody was nice to me. And I had a good time in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have one of those terrible, high school nightmares or anything like that. I had a fine time in high school.
Okay. So here's the thing. How does one in high school, Grosse Pointe, posh, what do? Do you sell everything you own, pack up 2 guitars, 3 pedals, 4 T-shirts, 4 pair of black jeans, and get on a Greyhound and go to L.A.?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I had a nice car, a Thunderbird, and I was going to drive out to L.A., and I was going to try to, give it the old high school try and try to make it in the music business. I wanted to be a session musician.
How old were you?
I didn't graduate, so it was before my senior year, so I was very young. And I was and my parents were supportive of it because I never drank or smoked or did anything. I was, never had any problems like that. So they were pretty supportive of me. And I drove out there with the drummer from Megadeth. His name was Chuck Bueller, and he played on the Megadeth record, right. So Far, So Good.
So What?
Yeah. So we were driving out to California, and I was very, I didn't know, I wasn't street savvy. I was very, very in the dark with any of that stuff, and he was getting sick, throwing up, and I was like, oh man, he must have the stomach flu or something like that. But we would go to these houses, and he would get whatever to make him feel better, and I was like, oh, okay, And we drove, and we finally got to L.A. I went to sleep in this office with these, other musicians, and I woke up, and all my money was gone. First night. So I realized, this isn't the group of people for me, and I knew one person in LA, and I went to that person and just got a job parking cars, and I parked cars for all the celebrities, all the celebrity parties, and I would have Don Henley's car and Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff like that. And I would just take their cars out because they were in these parties, and I would cruise around L.A. in their cars. And true story, but and because I knew what time they were coming out, because it was some of these events, and so I would go and pick up my friends and Don Henley's Porsche or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was good.
And nobody was the wiser.
No.
Okay.
No. Never stole a nickel. Never stole anything out of the ashtray. Nothing ever.
And they never looked at the odometer.
No, of course not. Who does?
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Some guys. Didn't you ever see Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Come on.
Of course. But when you have your car valet parked, have you ever checked the odometer?
No, because nobody wants to be seen in my piece of shit. That's why.
That's why I asked.
Precisely. Okay. But, the Porsche, there you go. Mm-hmm. So, okay, you were shaken up by this. What type of advice would you give some kid who, like, right now is listening to this and he's foregoing personal hygiene and nutrition so he can shred faster and, or doing anything that he can because he really thought that he's going to be a session musician? If he doesn't think, because most people now, like, well, we're going to start a band, we're going to do this, and you kind of it starts as a clubhouse, and then with success or with age, it turns into a pirate ship. But if you're just going out there because you just want to play, some dude that just wants to play and wants to get out there, give me John Five's responsible advice on how to do it and manage their expectations.
And I will tell you, and it has changed over the years, as we know. So the advice that I have given to people in the past has changed dramatically. I would say nowadays, the best advice and the best thing you can do, which has helped me tremendously, is get on YouTube. Because people hardly even watch TV anymore. It's YouTube. And if you look up young guitar player, or if you look up young bass player, young drummer, and there's, a lot of things, but if you make a good video, and if you make, musicians are watching this that want to hire a bass player, a good singer, look at Journey. That's how Journey found their singer.
That's right.
From YouTube. A lot of people find musicians from YouTube now. And a lot of people that come to my instrumental shows are like, oh, I just saw you on YouTube and I really enjoyed it. So I would say if you really want to get noticed, the best thing to do is get on YouTube. I mean, you can find, a woman juggling cats, and she's a superstar on YouTube. Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable. And I'm very supportive of it. I really am. I think it's a great tool to get yourself out there. Instead of, can you imagine back in the day when we were going to shows, getting up and putting flyers around and hoping they're not going to be torn down or thrown away? I mean, it sounds so primitive and
it is in a world of today's swipe left culture.
It's just something that it just makes no sense to me, and because I've done it, and or doing autograph sessions or signings, it only reaches a few hundred people maybe at most in that area. But if you're on YouTube and you're doing something, you're worldwide. You could have a billion views if you're great.
Sure.
So show us what you got.
And I guess that would be kind of the thing where just like some producer says, oh, there's this shred-tastic kid in Crib Death, Iowa.
Sure.
We need to go find this kid and stuff like that and bring him in and stuff like that.
You know what I do?
And that's what happens. Yeah.
What I do, and listeners, I'll look at drummers. I'll look at bass players, because you're probably not familiar with the instrumental stuff I do, but the drums and the bass is just as complicated as the guitar. And
oh yeah, exactly. It kind of reminds me of, like a classic American player like a Satriani or Steve Vai or something like that. Yeah. Steve Vai, who cut his teeth playing with Frank Zappa. Sure. All that stuff. Oh, you need to have a level of musicianship with all of these guys.
Now here's the problem. Is that there are so few. I mean, very, very few musicians like that. And that's why I scour YouTube and Instagram for really good musicians. And if I find a good musician, I'll write it down, take a picture of their Instagram page or something like that. Because God forbid if our bass player or drummer, hurts himself or something, who's going to replace him? I can't get the guy down the street. I'm going to need a schooled, serious musician that knows everything from, Chet Atkins to Slayer. So, and just knows every mode knows how to improvise and knows how to do walking and slapping and all these things. It's really impossible to find. It's like finding a white tiger. It's not
John
easy.
5 looking for unicorn.
Yeah,
Click here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, but that's why I look on YouTube and Instagram, and if I find somebody, I will take a picture of that page and get a hold of that person, which that's what I have done in the past.
What was your first professional gig when you were out in LA?
Well, if it's session-wise,
Who was the first one? What was the first one?
The very first one, I would say I did a session for Robin Zander from Cheap Trick. And then I did like John Wetton from UK, Asia.
Okay.
And then TV stuff, Baywatch, and Wilson Phillips and Rick Springfield. And
So that's a breadth of stuff, but I guess, but what was the first? Well, the first thing you did was a Robin Zander? The first?
Yeah, very first thing.
Okay,
I
because
got
he
paid,
did release a solo record.
Yeah, I don't even know what it was for, but what I did is I charged everyone half the price that everybody else was. So if you had a burger joint, you were selling them for $5. I was doing $2.50.
Gotcha.
And so everybody was using me because I would
You were
do it in half the time and half the price. And that's how I got my name.
And then other people say, well, he's a hack, he's doing it. But then when you actually laid down the things, they went, oh my God, this guy's like Quicksilver.
So I just have always worked. I've always worked, and I always got up and did my work, and I've been working ever since. I guess, I don't know, my very first professional thing was like probably 94. So long time, 92 maybe. I'm bad with years.
And what was the next? So what was the thing? The band that got you recognized as John 5?
Well,
I'm trying to think of where
I was playing guitar for Katie Lang. I did a tour with her,
Okay.
and and I was rubbing shoulders with Madonna and Prince and Peter Gabriel and all these guys, and then I went to Halford and David Lee Roth and all these people, and
as far as I'm trying to think, what was the first professional band you were in? Where like you're going, pack your shit. We're going on tour.
I guess that was Katie Lang. We played 3 nights at Radio City Music Hall, and it was like the masseuse and cook and all these things, and it was top. I mean, models and just anything you can. Not rock though.
Right.
It was a different plateau. It was like the Kate Moss and everybody, they were just around. People were just around like that. Then I would join, when I joined Marilyn Manson, that's where I got the name John 5, and he gave me that name. We went out to, they called me when I was coming home from tour, and the manager called me and said, hey, we want you to meet Manson, and he wants to talk to you about maybe playing guitar. And he didn't even audition me. He just said, okay, your name's going to be John 5, and, this is what it's going to be. And I remember going home and practicing my autograph,
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
Funny,
nice.
Huh?
And then tell me your best I have to say this. Tell me your best Manson story.
Well, true story. I guess the very first night of tour, we had this guy that was... he just bought a video camera and he was going to document the tour. And we called him Lady Butt because he had this lady's butt for real. And it was like this, it was just, regular guy, but he had a lady's butt. So we called him Lady Butt. And I remember the parties were always in my room because I was the new guy and, nobody wanted to have a bunch of people in their room. So there was a bunch of people in the room. And this one girl said, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And the guy was fiddling with this camera, and he goes, oh, go in this trash can and I'll film it. And she was like, okay. And there was, plethora of people, just a ton of people. And this is all on film, mind you. It's on the internets. And she takes down her pants, and she had a dong, and starts peeing in the trash can. And this is all on film. You can watch it on, I think it's called the Death Parade, Marilyn Manson, The Death Parade. And it's like one of the first things on the video. And then later that night, there was a girl that was smoking a cigarette with her vagina, but that wasn't put on the because it was going a little far.
Yeah.
So
the girls was something extra.
Yeah, but it was just, that was the first night.
That was the first night.
And that was the first night.
Of a stint that lasted how many years?
5.
5.
Yeah.
And look at you. You look positively healthy. You don't look particularly gaunt. You don't look dope sick. You don't. You look positively resplendent, young man.
I have never had a drink or a cigarette or anything in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
You're like almost straight edge.
I'm very straight edge. I'm vegan and all that stuff. So
wow.
Yeah, I have to be. You got to be healthy doing what we do out here. It's difficult. It's hard. It's a lot of work.
And the temptation is always there.
Yeah, I've never really had that temptation.
Okay.
Never really had it. I mean, my parents drank and smoked, and my sister, was a heroin addict, and everybody. It was just, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to stay away from that.
Anything that's going to stop you from playing?
No.
I mean, really, if that's it. I mean, you made that, you had that line that in your head that the way, just talking to you, I get this idea that there was no plan B. You were going to be a guitarist, period. That's it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't, just like anybody else listening, we all don't have backup plans. It's just, but I made it it's kind of my comfort is just having a guitar in my hand. You could see I'm fiddling with markers here, but it is just very comfortable to have a guitar in my hand. And I've always, when I'm home, I've went through 2 wives because I didn't cheat and wasn't money problems, but I always played guitar. And I always played guitar on the couch. And that was it.
I'm trying to watch television. What the hell's wrong with you?
All the time, just playing, picking. And luckily, I'm married now for 10 years. And as soon as I found out that was okay, it was great. And I could play as much as I want.
Nice. Well, it's interesting. I mean, you kind of everybody. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of everybody. Seemingly, a lot of people I speak with in bands kind of like, well, I learned to play the guitar to the means to the end. But I think your thing is just really, just by virtue of everybody that you've played with, from like big, classic rock stars to like unlikely folks. Like Katie Lang,
Ricky Martin, and
Skinner. Sure, exactly. And you're just your aspect to it is like you're in service to the stuff coming out of the speakers, and not like, oh, I got to do this gig with so and so because my rent's due, and I just, oh God, God, I'm going to shoot up right now just so I don't have to think about it. But your attitude about it seems to be definitely be in service of the thing, because you don't really seem to be interested in. These other things that we put in musical cultures put on to people, like, oh, that's not cool enough, or that's not artistic enough, or please, I can play so much better than that. That playing that type of music is beneath me. There's.
That's a great point. When I was in Marilyn Manson, I wanted to play everything as perfect as possible. Now, I'm not saying just not make a mistake, but I'm like Steely Dan perfection, as you can relate to probably. Yeah. Steely Dan perfection, meaning not just making a mistake, but making it so perfect, making it so in tune and on time and perfect beyond perfect in an act like Marilyn Manson, which, it wasn't about that at all, but I was obsessed with that. And I wanted to make everything. So if you watch any of those videos, they're pretty, and I never improvised. I was never look at me. I always wanted to play a piece of music, how it was recorded, and I wanted to play it exactly how it was recorded, because that's how it was recorded. If someone wants me to improvise, I will. And But if I'm going to play Sweet Dreams, I'm going to play it exactly how it was recorded. And that's important. But I love that. And I still do that today with my gigs or Zombie or anything like that. I try to play as perfect as possible. And it's a game I play with myself as well to see, what, because everybody's got a phone in your face.
Yes.
And I'm now playing these venues where this is how far I am from people. So they can't even, their phone is literally maybe 3 inches from my face. And here's the thing. I support the cell phone thing. I'm not against it. Because sometimes there's people in other parts of the world that cannot afford to go to the show or maybe physically cannot get up and go to a show. And why not? Why not record? It's fine. I have no problem with it. But the only thing I think that's weird about it is comedy shows. If someone's recording a comedy show, because then that gives away the jokes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's no fun.
Exactly.
But anything else, I'm like, fine, record if you want, I sometimes have to push people back a little bit because they're literally
up in your face,
like holding it right to my picking hand or to my fretting hand, so close where they're in the way of the show,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back off, Michael Bay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to bring this up. This is kind of crucial. Because you obviously you have a very storied career with a lot of people from all ends of music history and contemporary music of the past 25 years. You had your own band, Loser.
Yes.
And Great Expectation. You had to deal with who was the deal with
Island.
With Island.
Yeah.
You. It was a great team. Everybody's like, yeah, money was spent.
Jay-Z, everybody
was that.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there were big plans and there was marketing and you're going to go on tour here and you're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And we're going to do this. And there was probably expensive gear that was paid. And, just all of this stuff surrounding this thing that we're basically we're putting all the chips on Loser. And then you walked away from it before the record came out.
That's right.
Okay. That, to me, is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All of the other people around you, like maybe the people in the band, maybe your business manager, maybe your manager is thinking, holy shit, that's my 30% that just went up in smoke. What the fuck happened? Tell me the story about how it all fell apart, what you had to do, and what you felt was the right course of action. Because admittedly, there's the comedian Lily Tomlin has this great line, which I use all the time. It's not called show art. It's called show business.
Exactly.
Tell the story.
So when I do interviews or talk to anybody, I always tell the truth. And sometimes it's not the truth that people are looking for. They're looking for some fun, crazy story. But the honest to God truth is I started this band Loser, and the songs were amazing. The songs were great. And I got this group of guys, and it was really difficult to keep these guys kind of in a certain, it was really tough, but they were great musicians. And the first night we were on tour, they spent all their per diem in one night, and they didn't understand. They thought they would get that every night type of thing. Little stories like that. Anyways, we got a deal, Jay-Z was involved, and L.A. Reid signed us, and it was great because this music was awesome, and I think you can find some of that online, and everybody asks about it. But then I was like, man, I don't know if I can really, this could really go somewhere, or I could join Rob Zombie and write music for Rob Zombie and be on tour with Rob Zombie. And I had to think show friends, show business, and I had to think, okay, let's think of longevity. Let's think of really, really trying to figure this out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go on tour with Rob Zombie for 6 weeks. Now, it wasn't like, hey, you're going to have a gig for 13 years. We had 6 weeks. We were going to do Ozzfest. And I'll tell you something, we got along so well. And thank God, this 6-week tour has turned into 13 years. And it's been the greatest. And now, I'm used to the biggest arenas and hotels and anything you want. But I go out and play these guitar shows because I love music. So it's kind of, I have the best of both worlds. So with Loser, I just, put my minuses and pluses together and chose the pluses.
What year would this have been?
I have, I'm going to say 2004, 2005.
Okay. And so you said, wait a second, hold it. Was it a case of, I'm going to go do these 6 weeks with Rob Zombie and come back and see what my head's thinking? Or you just completely walked away from it thinking that you were just going to do Rob Zombie for 6 weeks and then it was hit reset and back to square? Oh, I wonder what my next thing's going to be.
No, I walked away from it because they were going to release the record and, I paid out what I needed to pay out. And I just thought, I'm going to roll the dice. And I'm very careful of what I choose and what I do and what I don't do. It's very calculated. So it wasn't like, yeah, man, what am I going to do? Let's go rock. It's very calculated with everything.
But I mean, obviously,
I had two great situations.
Yeah, but it seems like one situation, you would be, it seems like you would be in control of more things as opposed to, working for/with Rob Zombie,
right?
Who is a control freak by any man's language, and he even admits that. But you just kind of like somebody. It seems like somebody gave you the keys to the Ferrari, and you went, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna walk."
You're absolutely right. I had complete control, but that's how much respect I had for Rob Zombie. Where I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to go play with Rob Zombie. That's how much love and respect I had for Rob Zombie, not even knowing him yet. And that's the honest to God truth.
Do you see how anybody else would think, what the hell is he thinking? Because you've got this, you had all of the resources from the major label. You had backing from all of these, bigwig folks. And it was your songs, your music, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and you still walked from it? Does that... Do you know what I mean? Were there certain things that just like, oh, I'm going to have to... I mean, were there certain things that you just thought, oh, no, I don't want to be part of this? Oh, John, by the way, we want you to put this hip-hop guy in here. Oh, and there's going to be a special guest rapper on this track. And then, and there's this female lead singer that, we think this would be nice. We've signed her to a multi-record deal, and we're going to use your record as a launch pad for her, just, to give the record some flavor or whatever type of bullshit guys in $3,000 linen suits say to get people to bend to their whim. So... I feel like you're kind of being coy with me about stuff because, there has to be some big thing where you said, whoa, screeching of brakes, the record scratching across.
There wasn't.
Nothing.
Wish there was. And just like how I started the story, I wish there was. I wish there was like, they were so cooperative. They were so kind. And I just thought, I just got out of Marilyn Manson. Mm-hmm. And I still needed that. I still wanted that big. I wasn't ready. I'm being honest with you. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go on my own. I think I was.
Yet people who write checks were ready to give you that.
But mentally, I don't think, if you open your own business and you have to be 100% ready, committed, I wasn't ready. And thank God, because I've had the best 13 years of my life. And now I'm doing this guitar thing, and I'm so content, and I'm so happy with where I am. I just couldn't have wished for anything more. And I'm being honest. I know it sounds like a fairy tale story, and it is.
That's just interesting because, coming from my... I guess this is me projecting onto you. We're kind of like anybody who just really shakes up people at a certain level in industry. Because Old Boys Network, certain codified way of doing things. Just you hear all the horror stories. I've heard 30 years of major label type horror stories, and yours is actually you were in control of your own. You were given the keys to the kingdom, but you were also in control of your own destiny, and it still seemed to work out with you. And I don't know many stories like that. So,
well, I think if you're honest, and I know it sounds crazy, but if you're honest and you're good at what you do and you're respectful to people, it's like, hey, why not? You know, this guy's, if you're going to hire somebody for a tour, you want to say, well, how good is he? Okay, he's really good. How's he get along with others? Oh, he gets along really well with others. Well, is he party? Does he have girls? You know, like, you have to go through all these factors because you're going to be living with this person. And sometimes, you know, we haven't hired somebody because they're this or they're that or that. You have to have everything around, especially if you're going to be hired by someone, you're going to be working for someone. You don't want to babysit this person.
Right.
You want an adult, you want a professional musician. And, you know, you're not going to act like thinking like, oh, I'm a rock star and I'm going to trash this hotel room, because at the end of the day, you're going to spend your whole weekly salary on a table that you wrecked at the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. The reality is, after you trash a hotel room, you get the bill, but that's never on film, the guy paying the bill.
Yeah.
And that's the reality.
2 very quick questions.
Yes.
What do you hate about guitar players? A particular thing. What is the particular thing you absolutely hate? A technique, a style, a cliche, anything? What is the one thing that drives you up the wall?
Well, that's a really good question. Boy, I don't know. Because I can, you know, if someone, first of all, I applaud and praise anybody that's playing guitar, because we need the guitar in our lives.
Now more than ever.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
You listen to radio.
it doesn't matter if someone gets on there and is banging on the guitar. I'm like, yep, he's got a guitar on. So anybody that has a guitar on, I applaud them and thank them, you know, because when the turntable was the most popular, I don't know if I'll say instrument, but the most popular product in Guitar Center, mm-hmm. I was pretty terrified, I'll be honest.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your favorite guitar solo in life? Not yours.
No.
Not your favorite guitar solo. What is your favorite guitar solo?
You know, anybody would say Eruption. It changed my life, or anything like that. But
taking a stand. Come on, John. Taking a stand.
You know, there's some that are so good that kills you. You know, of course, Eruption, but Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street.
The sax solo?
No, the guitar solo.
The guitar solo. Well, ow, 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 ow. That's right.
It's so
That's right.
good.
I forgot about that. Because everybody thinks of Raph Ravenscoff's sax solo.
So good.
You're right.
And that's just from me getting driven to school, listening to that on the radio every day.
That's right.
Interesting, huh?
That's right. That is a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice.
I'm being honest. I wish I had I wish I had a cooler answer for you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It is a cool answer. It is a genuinely cool answer, because look where you are now and look at everything you've done. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.